kind of spirit does your child have? Are they timid? Are they frequently nervous? Are they really bashful? Uh, are they the great adventurer, the seeker, the disruptor, the life of the party, the jokester? What kind of spirit does your child have? It's a very important question. A lot of people don't know. I kid you not. They're so busy with their own world and they don't even know themselves. So it's pretty challenging that they're going to know or understand their child. And it's a real problem because one of the things we have the privilege of doing with our children is loving them enough to foster what is in their spirit. So today we're going to talk a little bit about an adventurer's spirit, which I have, and I have a son who has it. I have a son who wasn't necessarily born with a terribly adventuresome spirit, but he's quite the adventurer now. He's been teaching overseas internationally for about 3 years now, almost three and a half actually. And so from where he's sitting, he gets to go a lot of other places, and he has gone a number of other places. And people said, "Oh, you're pretty brave, and you don't even have to take anyone with you, and you're very content to go look at all these things." And actually, he went to a museum theater. It's an interesting thing where they portray the history of the country, and there was nobody there that was Caucasian. There were only nationals there who were interested in their own history. And a couple of the people asked my son, and he was there with a companion, "What in the world are you doing here? Because you're not from our country, and do you speak our language so well that you understood everything?" Which they did not. They said, "Well, why are you here? You have to understand this is 8 hours on your feet going through this museum, watching all these different portrayals of periods of history." People were just stunned that he and his friend were there. And my son was the one who had really wanted to go, and his friend went along. He's pretty adventuresome about going somewhere and seeing what he wants to see and learning new things and experiencing new things. He's just very willing to do that. That wasn't who he was as a kid. So I fostered that in him by taking him places and doing various things with him and exposing him to a lot of things. But I really think that maybe it was hidden in there somewhere. So I don't think it would have come out so fully if it weren't a part of him. But he has a very creative spirit. He also has an incredible sense of humor, not like his terminally serious mom. And I fostered that in him. We'd get crazy books, books of jokes, books of limericks and puns and just insane stuff. And he'd learn how to deliver that with great panache. And he is good at it. Oh my word, he has impeccable timing and it just flies through his brain and out of his mouth. He's astounding and he is hysterically funny. I did foster that in him and bring that out of him. So, what is in your child? It may not mean that you jump on a plane and just go somewhere because your kid wants to see it, like Bob Goff. If you don't know who he is, you should look him up. He's a really incredible guy with a unique viewpoint of the world and the way he's raised his children and the things he's done for them. You don't have to do that, but you might have to be willing to go a little out of your comfort zone to foster what is in your child. I think that's incredibly true of a kid who is really very creative, doesn't think inside the box, maybe doesn't even live inside the box. You know, his mom and dad are pretty staid, steady, regular people, an accountant and a physician's assistant, and here's this wildly creative kid. I've seen it more than one time, and so our kids can have unexpected things in them, and we need to try to find a way to draw that out and make that happen. It is a part of the beauty of appreciating your child and the uniqueness of who your child is and wanting to see the development of all the shapes and colors of who your child can be. This really truly is at the heart, I think, of what it means to paint a beautiful picture in your child's life. Not you holding the brush, doing all the drawing, as much as you providing the paint and providing the brush and even letting them paint gloriously across the canvas with things you never would have put there. It is about freedom and acceptance and the recognition of individuality. I think many times parents believe, in fact, I have a good friend who says it, oh, my son is a mini me. He's just like me. No one else believes that. I just need you to know that. Everyone else goes, wow, he doesn't see his son well. Well, it happens a great deal that people try to paint their children as themselves. In other words, what they like about themselves or what they think is cool about themselves. Well, that's what my child is. Sometimes, but maybe not. You need to do your absolute best, mom, dad, to truly look at your child for who she is and see her as an individual entirely separate from you, because they are. Every living human being has a unique genetic, psychological, and emotional makeup and needs to be valued, respected, loved, and accepted for who they are as an individual person. Don't try to superimpose your life, your personhood, your way of seeing things, your viewpoint onto your child. Your child isn't you, nor do they need to be. There's one of you, and that's enough. It's part of the beauty of the world. We are all fearfully and wonderfully, beautifully made, and we need to let every single person be who they were meant to be, including our children. We need to do the best that we can in allowing that to happen and putting them into an environment where they're free, pardon me, and putting them into an environment where they're free to be their very best self, as they were uniquely created to be. All right, so what if your child is a trickster? In other words, someone who's always playing jokes or always trying to do practically funny things. I can tell you that I know about a few actors who are these kind of people. Ashton Kutcher is one of them, and so is Mel Gibson. It's kind of renowned, some of the crazy things they've done on the sets of movies or TV shows. And most people, as long as it's done in good fun and not to hurt anyone, find it hysterical and they're a joy to work with. A kid who's always trying to play tricks on people and he can't delineate yet what is kind and what isn't very nice or very thoughtful or might hurt somebody, you have to help them understand that it's perfectly fine to play tricks or be a prankster, but not to do it at someone else's expense or not to do it in a way that makes someone else feel badly or look stupid in front of other people. So you need to take that and kind of hone it or fine tune it so they can use and develop who they are, but to do it to advantage rather than to disadvantage. Another thing you can do is someone who is not like you. So say you are a traveler and pretty adventuresome. You have this child and all they want to do is stay at home and they're a little fearsome. You might actually say to them, well, we are going to go and I want you to go, but I respect that you're much more of a stay-at-home homebody type. So let's foster what we can about a really beautiful home and a very comforting, safe environment. So we have a wonderful place to come back to. So you're acknowledging who they are and what's important to them and their very makeup. And it doesn't mean you're going to change your whole lifestyle or everything about what your family's doing, but you're going to respect who they are and you're going to celebrate who they are, which is different than who you are. That's just a way of developing in them what is part of their spirit. I think that oftentimes we are threatened as human beings by what is different from us. And we need to recognize that often it is the very thing, the very culture, the person, the viewpoint that is different than ours that can make life incredibly meaningful or more beautiful or certainly more interesting. And we have to be receptive to those things. We don't have to adopt them. We don't have to take on an entire belief system because someone else's is different than ours, but we just need to acknowledge it as having value and be receptive to it, especially in our own child. if you have a group of children, I'm going to say 3 or more, you're going to have varying spirits among you in the best possible way. And you need to celebrate that, and you need to be paying attention to that. You need to help your children learn how to appreciate one another, and even, I can't say integrate them because that's not always possible, but at least teach them how to live alongside of one another comfortably, peaceably, and joyfully. And it really is possible. You couldn't have more different people than my 2 sons. I just know what I'm talking about when I say this to you. And some of my friends still crack up that know both of my children as adults. Like, oh my word. And I say, yeah, even as kids, it really was like that. They were not alike. They don't think alike. Their spirits aren't alike. They just, I'm telling you, they are such different people. Yet my sons love one another, cherish one another, are kind and respectful to each other. They're amazing together. And someday I hope you'll get to see that when my one son comes back from across the wide, wide seas. I hope that the 3 of us will be able to sit down and you'll get to see that they really do dearly love and respect one another. And it's okay that they're not very much alike at all. I've definitely seen families where kids who weren't alike, and I don't mean as dramatically different as mine, but just not alike. They never did get along. They never liked each other. And when they grow up, they have nothing to do with one another. And I think it's a great tragedy. And so, mom and dad, this is a very challenging part of parenting. I acknowledge that to you, but it is a beautiful, wonderful, amazing part if you can learn to look at your children's spirits, see who they are, and celebrate it. Bring it out of them to the best of your ability, nurture it, foster it, do what you can to get it to be bigger and more meaningful in their life, and help your children who have different joys in their spirits to get along and live alongside of one another and have respect and cooperation. You will just be giving them skills they will use for the rest of their life in dealing with people and situations, and especially in appreciating their own inner beauty and their own uniqueness as a human being. I want you to show great affection to your child today by appreciating what that is in their spirit, whether it is a poetic spirit, a creative spirit, a musical spirit, an adventurer spirit, a courageous spirit, a conquering spirit, a homebody spirit, a spirit that gives great comfort to others, a spirit that is generous and kind, regardless of what that spirit is. To see it, to notice it, to foster it, and to celebrate it. It has been great having you with me today on Paint a Beautiful Picture. I hope that you will join us again soon. You may find additional information on our paintabeautifulpicture.com website. Additionally, you may watch me on Rumble, and you may also listen to a podcast on Buzzsprout or Spreaker, all under the name Paint a Beautiful Picture. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. You may subscribe, and if you are interested in receiving notifications, please hit the notifications button.